I never expected anything unusual from that weekend. It's just another family reunion with barbecues, lawn chairs, and polite small talk. My husband, Sean, and I had driven down to Orlando to see his relatives, people I only saw once or twice a year. It was meant to be routine, but the moment Levi walked through the door, everything shifted. He was Sean's cousin, the one from Miami. Real estate agent, always charming, always effortless in the way he moved through a room. I'd met him before, but this time, there was something different. His eyes lingered just a second too long when he hugged me hello. His hand rested at the small of my back a bit too comfortably as we navigated the crowded kitchen. All things that could have been passed off as friendly if my skin hadn't reacted like it did. That first night around the fire pit, I sat across from him while Sean chatted animatedly with his uncle. The firelight danced across Levi's face, but it was his gaze that caught me steady, unreadable. Just slightly too intense. Madison looks incredible tonight, Levi said to the group casually. But his eyes never left mine. Sean laughed, pulling me close. Don't I know it? But Levi's compliment stayed suspended in the air between us, charged with an energy neither of us acknowledged, not out loud later, as the night wound. Down and I gathered bottles from the patio. Levi appeared beside me. Need help? He asked, his voice low. Just for me. I've got it, I said, though my hands suddenly felt unsteady. He stepped closer anyway, the heat from his body unmistakable. You seem distracted tonight, said, eyes narrowing slightly. I'm fine. It was a lie, and we both knew it. He leaned in, his lips brushing close to my ear. Good to know. Then he was gone, leaving me breathless and unnerved. Day 2 the next day brought a pool party. I wore a simple one-piece. Nothing revealing, but the way Levi looked at me made me feel like I was wearing nothing at all. He was in the water laughing with the kids, but his gaze kept drifting to me. When I bent to grab a towel, I caught him watching. Not just watching, studying. When one of the kids called for me to join, I waded in, trying to focus on the game. But every time Levi brushed past me in the water, every accidental touch sent jolts through me. During one round, he caught me around the waist to keep me from being tagged. I was pulled back against him, his breath hot near my neck, his voice a low murmur. Got you? For a moment, we were frozen, my back against his chest, our bodies far too aligned. I turned, and our faces hovered just inches apart. I thought he might kiss me right there. He didn't, but his hands lingered a little too long before letting go. Game's over, he called out to the kids, voice tight. But the game between us had only just begun. That evening, at dinner, Sean made plans to take a few of the younger cousins to an arcade. You coming? He asked, already grabbing his keys. I shook my head. I think I'll stay. Bit tired. Levi, who had been quiet most of the evening, spoke up. I'll stay too. Keep Madison company. Something in his tone made Sean glance between us. But if he noticed anything, he didn't show it. Sounds good, he said. We'll be back in a bit. As the door closed behind them, the house fell quiet except for the low hum of the ceiling fan and the distant chirping of cicadas. Levi and I stood in the kitchen, the air thick between us. You sure you're not tired of me yet? I asked, half joking. He stepped closer, slowly. Not even close. His hand reached out, brushing a strand of hair from my cheek. His wedding ring, Sean's cousin, still a symbol of everything forbidden, caught the light. We shouldn't be doing this, I whispered. But you want to, he said. Don't you? I didn't answer. I didn't have to. But whatever he saw or didn't see must have satisfied him. Sounds good. Well, be back in a couple hours, the house. MT quickly older relatives retiring to their rooms, the younger crowd following Sean out the door soon. It was just Levine. Me in the living room, the silence ethic with possibility, want, and a third drink. He asked, already moving towards kitchen. I've followed him, hyper-aware of every step, every breath. He poured wine for both of us, his movements deliberate and controlled. When he handed the glass, his fingers brushed mine, lingering just long enough to send heat shooting up my arm to family. He said, raising his glass with a sardonic smilato, family. I echoed, though the word felt strange on my tongue, given what I was thinking about. His touch. We moved to the back porch, settling on the swing thought overlooked the darkened yard Thuine made. Everything softer, the boundaries. I'd been careful a maintaining, beginning to blur Yaukno. Ah, Levi said, his voice thoughtful. I've always wondered what it would be like. What would be like? My voice came out brighter than intended. He turned to face me fully, his knee bumping against mine on the narrow swing to have Simeone. Like you, someone who responds way you do. My heart hammered against me ribs. Levi, the way you look at me, he continued, his voice dropping to barrel jabove. A whisper, the way your breath catches. When I get close, you feel it. Toey should have denied it. Should have asked it up, gone inside, put distance between us instead. I found myself leaning closer, drawn by the magnetic hole that had been building all weekends. Sean loves you, I said, weakly, though even as I spoke the words, they felt inadequate against the tide of want rising in my chest. Sean's my cousin. Buv's not here right now. His hand movetto my thigh just above my knee, his thumb tracing slow circles through the fabric off my dress. And you're not happy? The accusation hit me like cold water. What makes you think that I watch people? It's what I do for work, and I've been watching you. His hand moved, higher finger spreading across my thigh with possessive certainty. You smile, you laugh, you play the perfect wife, but there's something missing, something you're not getting. His words cut too close to the truth. Sean was a good husband, reliably and kind, but our relationship had settled into comfortable predictability. Passion we'd once shared had dimmed, a steady warm glow, safe, familiar, but lacking the fire that once consumed us. That doesn't mean I started, but my protest died. As his thumb traced along sensitive skin of my inner thigh, doesn't mean what that you deserve. Tofiel wanted, desired that you deserve. Samin, who makes your skin burn just by looking at you. His words wrapped around me like silk, dangerous and seductive. I was drowning in them, in the heat of his touch, in the intoxicated possibility of giving in to something Gid been denying all weekend. We can't, I whispered, even as my body swayed toward his. We can, he said simply. We just have to be smart about it. His lips found mine, then soft at first, distinct, then deeper as I responded, despite every rational thought screaming in my head. He tasted like wine and something darker, something that made me want to lose myself completely. His hands stangled in my hair, tilting my head, toed upon the kiss, and I melted against him with a soft moan. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against mine. Come with me, Iknu, I should say. No should end this spore. It went any further instead. I found myself nodding, letting him lead me off the porch, through the quiet house and out to the garage, where his rental car was parked. The space was dimly lit, a single overhead bulb casting long shadows across the concrete floor, tools hung neatly on pegboards, boxes stacked against the walls, an ordinary space that suddenly felt charged with extraordinary zibble. Levi turned to face me, his hands finding my waist, pulling me closer. Last chance to change your mind. Instead of answering, I rose on mid-toes and kissed him, pouring all the pent-up desire of the past 2 days into a connection between us. He responded timidly, his hands roaming my body with growing confidence, mapping V's hidden beneath my sundress. His lips trailed down my neck, finding that sensitive spot just below my ear that made me gasp and arch against him. You're so responsive, he murmured, my skin so beautiful. I felt beautiful under his touch, desired in a way I hadn't experienced in months. His shawns were everywhere, skimming up missids, tracing the line of my collar benethridine through my hair as he clammed me. Mouth again and again. I've wanted this since I walked through that door. Heckenfest between kisses. Wanted you, Levi. Breathed his name like a prayer, my hands fumbling with the buttons of his shirt, desperate to feel his skin against mine. He caught my hands, stilling them. Not here, not like this. He glanced towards house, where light spilled from the kitchen windows. Too risky, but he made no move to step away. Instead, his hands found the hem of my dress, finger showsting along my thighs as he slowly pushed the fabric higher. I trembled down to his touch, every nerve ending alive with anticipation. "Tell me you want this," he said, his voice rough with need. "I want this." I admitted, the words falling from my lips before I could stop them. "I want you." That was all the permission he needed. His mouth found mine again as his hands continued their exploration, discovering every sensitive spot that made me gasp and cling to him. The garage faded away until there was nothing but the heat between us, the desperate need that had been building all weekend, finally finding release time, moved differently in that dim space. Minutes felt like hours as we lost ourselves in each other's hands, roaming lips, meeting bodies. Pressing together with increasing urgency, he lifted me onto the workbench, positioning himself between my thighs, and the cool metal against my skin only intensified thigh heat, burning through my veins. His kisses grew hungrier, more demanding, and matched his intensity with my own. This wasn't gentle or romantic. This was roan months of dissatisfaction and unfulfilled desire pouring out between us. His hands gripped my hips, holding me steady as he pressed closer. And I could feel how much he wanted me, the hard evidence of his desire making my core clench with anticipation. "God, Madison." He groaned against my throat. "You're driving me crazy." I was beyond words, beyond rational thought. There was only sensation. His hands on my skin, his mouth ate against mine. The building pressure rethought threatened to consume us both. When his fingers found the edge of my underwear, tracing along the lace with maddening lightness, I nearly cried out with need. "Please." I whispered the word, barely audible. He understood, his touch becoming more purposeful, more direct. The first brush of his fingers against me core made me arch against him, a sharp gasp escaping my lips. He was skillibation building the tension inside me with deliberate care until I was trembling on the edge of release. "That's it," he murmured, watching my face intently. "Let go for me." When the climax hit, it shattered through me with surprising intensity, leaving me shaking and breathless in his arms. He held me through it, his lips pressed to my temple, whispering words of praise that made my heart race even faster. But we weren't finished. The garage around us felt smaller, more intimate, as he lifted me from the workbench and turned me to face away from Mithroma. Mithrowit made face away from Mithromit. Mithrowit, his lips pressed to my livet, pressed perfeed by my listing, my lizard press. I thought Mithrowit was a praise at one words. Mithrowit was a previat quote with Mithrowh deftor. We were at Mithrowit sweet away to quie around, with we have skate a wee. Qui wittity at with the wooda we with Mithrowit with the qui can clee a see to we to kai we to say to me with lee with see you with you week qweedy you could you to you q like at you go if you get at a get I get with wait I Jack I do you I think you I but can I guy when I would conflict that back with I am actually if that I think that him. I braced my hands against cool metal surface, my dress bunched around, my waist completely exposed and vulnerable. The position should have made him feel self-conscious, but instead I tenderly heightened my arousal. His hands moved over my back, my hips preparing with gentle touches that made me arch toward him when he finally joined with, filling me completely. We both went still for a moment, overwhelmed by the sensation. "You feel incredible." He breathed against my shoulder, then he began to move, setting a rhythm that had me gasping and pushing back against him. This was what I'd been missing, this connection that went beyond physical satisfaction to something deeper, more primal. Every thrust sent waves off leisure through me, building towards something even more intense than before. Then sound of our bodies coming together filled the space, punctuated by soft moans and whispered words of encouragement. I lost myself in rhythm in the feel of his hands on my hips, guiding our movement. The workbench cracked slightly under our combined weight. But neither of us cared about anything beyond the fire burning between us, so perfect. He groaned, his pace increasing so tight around me, his words sent fresh heat coursing through my veins. I could feel another climax building stronger than the first, threatening to tear me apart with its intensity. When his hand slipped around my hip, finding that sensitive bundle off nerves and circling with just the right pressure. I couldn't hold back the cry thought escaped my lips. "SH." He warned gently, though his movements never faltered. "We have to be quiet." But being quiet was nearly impossible as this cond wave of release crashed over me more intense than anything I've experienced in years. My legs trembled in, if not for his strong hands holding steady, I might have collapsed sedentary. He followed moments later, his grip tightening as he buried himself deep inside me, his own release huttering through him with quiet intensity. For long moments we stayed connected, both struggling to catch our breath, the magnitude of what we'd just done slowly sinking in when he finally stepped back, helping me straighten mid-rest with gentle hands. The garage felt different, charged with secret knowledge, heavy with the weight of betrayal and satisfaction. Combined, we should get back, I said, though the words felt strange after what we just shared. He nodded, running a hand through his disheveled hair. "Madison." He then stopped, seeming to struggle with what to say. "I know," I said softly, "this can't happen again." But even as I spoke the words, I wondered if I meant them. The fire he'd ignited in me was in something that could be easily extinguished. We slipped back into the house separately. Him first, then me a few minutes later. I went straight to the bathroom, checking my appearance in the mirror, smoothing my hair, and trying to erase any evidence of what had transpired. My cheeks were flushed, my lips slightly swollen from his kisses, but hopefully it wasn't obvious. Tonyan, who wasn't looking for signs, when Sean returned with the cousins an hour later, I was curled on the couch with a book, the picture of innocent domesticity, kissed my forehead as he passed, asking about my quiet evening. Fine. Eminach, not trusting my voice. Beyond that single word, Levi emerged from the kitchen, offering Sean a beer with ease of familiarity. To anyone watching, we were just family, just cousins-in-law sharing space in a crowded house. But when Arise met across the room, the heat was still there, barely banked, ready to Floretto life again. At the slightest provocation, the final day of the reunion passed in a haze of carefully maintained normally. I helped with breakfaster to sipped in conversations, played with the children, all while hyper-aware of Levi's presence across rooms and around corners. Every accidental touch, his hand brushing mine as we reached fourth same serving dish, our shoulders bumping. As we passed in the hallway, sent electricity racing through my system. Sean thankfully seemed oblivious to the undercurrent of tension. He was in Heiselman's, surrounded by family, Fendon, reminiscing about childhood memory, escomely unaware that his wife had crossed a line that couldn't be crossed. As afternoon turned to evening gun, people began packing up to Levy found me alone in the kitchen, loading the dishwasher with the remnants off our final family meal. "I'm heading out early tomorrow," he said, quietly glancing toward the living room where Sean was saying goodbyes. "Probably fourth best," I replied, not looking up from dishes. He moved closer, his voice dropping to barely above a whisper. I didn't regret it. I did look up then, meeting his intense gaze. "You should, and do are different things." Hishin brushed against mine as he handed my plate. The brief contact sending familiar heat shooting up my arm. "This doesn't have to be the end." "You know, yes it does," but my voice lacked conviction. On we both heard it. He leaned closer, his lips nearly brushing my ear. "I live 3 hours away. No one would have to know." The suggestion hung between us, dangerous and tempting for a moment. I let myself imagine its stolen weekends, hotel rooms, intoxicating rush of secret meetings. Then reality crashed back, bringing guilt and fear in its wake. "Levi, no," I stepped back, putting distance between us. "We can't." He studied my face for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "All right, but Madison." He waited until I met his eyes again. "If you change your mind, you know how to reach me." Then he was going to rejoining the family in the living room, leaving me alone with my racing heart and the terrible knowledge that part of M wanted to take him up on his offer. Sean and I left the next morning, our car loaded with leftover food and numeries as we pulled out of the driveway. I caught a glimpse of Levy's rental car still parked on the street, and I wondered if he was watching from behind one of the curtained windows. The drive home was filled with Sean's cheerful chatter about the weekend. Funny stories about his cousin's plans for the next family gathering. I made a proprietor Spanish, smiled at the right moments bet. My mind was elsewhere, replaying every moment in that garage, every touch of every whispered word. Levi simma different. This time, Sean said as we merged onto the highway more. I don't now focus somehow. My heart skipped a beat. Focused, how just more present, I guess. Usually he's checking his phone constantly. Talking about work this time seemed really engaged with everyone. Sean glanced at me with a smiley, especially with you. I think he really likes you. If only he knew how much he thought. Guilt twisting in my stomach. Hugh was nice. I managed. We should have. The mover, sometime him and whatever woman's dating now, make it a regular thing. The casual suggestion made my chest tighten with panic. The idea of seeing Levi regularly, of maintaining the pretense of family friendship, while fighting the attraction that threatened to consume me, felt impossible. Maybe I said weakly, but as the miles passed and Orlando disappeared in our rearview mirror, I found myself thinking less about the impossibility and more about the possibility. Levi had awakened something in me that I'd thought was gone forever, a hunger and need that Sean, for all his wonderful qualities, simply couldn't satisfy. The rational part of Mimind knew it was wrong, knew that pursuing anything with Levi would be a betrayal of everything I'd built with Son, but the irrational part, the part that still burned with the memory of Levy's hands on my skin, whispered that Mabe. Some betrayals were worth the risk. 3 days after we returned home, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number, but I knew who it was before I even opened it. Can't stop thinking. Abadoo. I stared at the message for a long time, my thumb hovering over the keyboard. I should delete it, block the number, pretend it never happened. Instead, I found myself typing back, "You promised to let me reach out first." His response came quickly. I lied. "When can I see you?" Agoni set the phone down without answering, but I didn't delete the conversation. And when Sean asked what had me so distracted at dinner, I blamed work stress and avoided his concerned gaze. That night, as Sean slept peaceful abised me, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, my body still humming with the memory of a connection I couldn't forget. Somewhere 3 hours south, Levi was probably doing the same thing both of us got. In the web we'd woven in that dark-end garage, the forbidden nature of it only made it more intoxicating every time I looked at Sean. Every family photo that included Levi's distant figure, every innocent mention of his name sent a thrill of dangerous pleasure through me. I knew I was standing at a crossroads. One path led back to safe Tito, the comfortable life I'd built with me husband. The other led into unknown territory filled with risk and passion and the intoxicating possibility of feeling truly alive again. So tell me, if you were in my position, caught between loyalty and desire, between the safety of marriage and the intoxicating pull-off forbidden passion, what would you choose? Have you ever felt that kind of connection with someone you shouldn't want? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one and genuinely curious about your experiences, and if this story left you wanting more, hit that like button. Subscribe for more confessions like this one, and ring that notification bell so you never miss the next chapter. Trust me, you won't want Thomas what happens next. Thanks for listening.